Hey, good night, good night. Listen, you're proud to be a Bajan? Yeah, you know the song? If you're proud to be a Bajan, put up your flag. So put up your flag. Listen, guys, listen. I proud to be a Bajan tonight. I proud to be a Bajan. Listen, you're proud to be a Bajan. Who proud to be a Bajan? Listen, I'm tempted to play just a little bit, Bob. We'll do a little jig here before the show starts tonight. Yellow, blue, yellow, blue, yellow, blue, blue, yellow, blue, yellow, blue, yellow, blue. Listen, let me turn that off before they strike me, before YouTube. Hey, Steve. Steve Moore, you would have been proud of your people on Saturday. Yes, it wasn't thousands, there was hundreds, but they came out. They came out, and it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. It is just the beginning. When we started out, right, it was really small. And I said, oh boy, I have to keep praying for my people. I'm going to have to keep praying and keep encouraging my people. But I tell you, Steve, the number started to grow. And I tell you, my friend Corey Kinaz, he sells these flags and he's going to have them anytime we have a march again. He sells this flag for $10. It's a nice big one. And then he has some others that he sells for $5. And so he gave me this one for $5. And I was so proud with my Bajan flag. And listen, and I was blue, yellow, blue, yellow, blue. It was powerful. I had goosebumps so many times, because I see my people rising up. And I'm here to encourage you as you rise up, as you stand up for what you believe in. And it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. Somebody might say, why are they're rejoicing? Yeah, we're rejoicing because there was a time where, you're doing a protest and people, they just don't come out, you know. But I'm seeing a change. I am seeing a change. Something is on the horizon and people are changing. It's happening. Let me just show you one of the videos that I have there for those people who are watching me. You are from Barbados, but I realize we have quite a number of persons who are watching from Canada, from the UK, from the USA. They are Barbadian by birth, and some of them have paid into the NIS and thought that everything was fine. So you are there watching, and I have an idea for you because my friend from Canada, she could not be here, but she put on a shirt in her garden and took a picture of her shirt, and I'm gonna try to find it on my Facebook page and to show you. Let me try and find that on my page, and I'm going to show you what she did. And I am wondering if in while you're in um your different countries, Bajans all over the world, why don't you stage your own little protest? You can come together with a couple of friends. And while the protests they're happening here in Barbados, Sharon O watching from the US, man, get with somebody else or just you alone. Let me show you what she did. Okay, let me try to show you what she did. Right. So this is coming up now, right? She said, nope, not today. Right. And on her page, she said, I could not be there in Barbados, but she's wearing this shirt today. This is my friend Claudette Wadman she lives in Canada now for a number of years, but is a true Bajan, right? And because people are just upset wherever they are, people vex, Bajans vex. I tell you. So wherever you are, right, Jeannie? Hi Jeannie, where are you watching from, Jeannie? Listen, anytime you hear it's happening again, I'm saying to you, to you guys, get together. Get together wherever you are, your Bajans, whether here or abroad. This is what we're talking about here. It's not representing no political party. It's about this. It's about Barbados. It is about Barbados. It is about this. This is it here, guys. It is this. It is this. And there's one thing I can tell you, Jamaicans extremely patriotic. I tell you, they love the flag. And I know you love your country as well. So wherever you are, and you hear, once you know it's coming up, some of you in New York, you're part of different organizations, different Bajan organization. Join up or come out in your garden or in your porch and join with us. Put on your Bajan colors and let them know that you're not here. You're in the diaspora, but you are concerned about your country. It's all about Barbados. We're representing Barbados tonight. Whether you're in Canada, whether you're in USA, Finland, wherever you are, you will be affected by this here, or your family will be affected by what is happening. And what are we saying? We are telling them, pull back the two bills. It was an electrifying experience up there on Saturday. It was quite electrifying, guys. Really, really powerful. And to see that, yes, it would have been great to get it up into the thousands, but that will come. People are feeling their way, right? They're feeling. 1 second. I have another video, but it just started a bit early. And this is for people who have not seen anything yet. This is the one that is making its rounds on social media at this time. So I'm going to play that one for you.
Not a brick. But giving millions of dollars out of the NIS. And I tell you, you gotta work till 68. So let me tell you, if you ain't careful, then I tell you then that you're gonna work till 75. You ain't gonna work till 75. The people that got pensions already, that feel they're cool, they're gonna cut the pension. Because Parliament can't do anything. What's the doing according to the Constitution? If Parliament can't cut your pension, don't mind you getting pension now. They might cut it. So you gotta kick up and fight, Barbadians. Do not forget who you are. We are a disciplined people who built this country from scratch. When the IMF and the international agencies were saying, you can't educate all your people, you can't send all your people to secondary education. You ain't done paradise lately, not a great.
Listen, guys, I am telling you, it was electrifying. And listen, yes, some people were saying it's probably 500. I would go with the lower number, between 400 and 500 people. I'm telling you, when we started off, I literally was counting the people there. But, I wasn't discouraged at all. Not at all. And because I made up my mind, and our general made up his mind that if it was just us alone, we're going. And Lynette was there bright and early. Mr. Franklin was there. Winston was there. And everybody who said that they were going to be there were there. So we said, well, the people paid for the march. They put their money. We put our money up. We went, as things not easy in Barbados. But people put their money up for this because they thought that it is this important for them, right? So and this is why I say to you, remember what I've been saying to you guys on this program. What have I been saying? I said to you, the Barbados, it's not about being passive. Bajans not passive. They are not passive. It is the geographical location of Barbados, the fact and just the terrain of Barbados, and the fact that they could not have any successful rebellion. The place is flat. Where were they going to go? The place is flat. Yes. And remember that this Barbados really was a prototype for slavery throughout the entire, when it comes on to the West African, the slave trade, slaving West Africans all over the world. They would look to Barbados. They would look to Barbados as the place to figure out how do you get your slaves in line. That is what they would ask Barbados. Did you really do you understand why your ancestors, they did not have that many revolts? They had 3. And then I hear people say, oh, but it wasn't even successful. But they tried. They tried. And in Jamaica, they had all of those hills to hide in. So therefore, they could have a lot of revolts. So it is within the culture of Jamaica to have revolts and to have riots and to have protests and to have demonstrations, because their terrain, gave rise to that. They could hide. The Maroons were hiding where? In the hills and the mountains of Trelawney. Have you been seen the mountains of Trelawney? So I want us as Barbadians to see, don't put ourselves down. Understand our situation. And also understand, people say, well, the only time they do something is if a foreigner come. But understand that even in Haiti, when the big revolt that happened, and the revolution, the Haitian Revolution, guess what? It was a Jamaican that went there and got them all ignited. You see, right? And because they were having so many revolts in Jamaica then, and he was a priest. Huh? He was a priest. For those of you who tell me you're a Christian, what are you doing in politics? I'm not involved in no politics. I'm not with any political party. I'm dealing with issues that's affecting poor people, that are affecting the elderly. That's what I'm dealing with, right? So what I'm saying to you, back to what I'm saying about Barbadians, understand them, understand your ancestors, respect what they did and what they went through under the given circumstances. Okay? And when people come here, let's treat each other well. Understand, when the Haitians are here, treat them well. The Jamaicans, treat them well. Because I'm telling you, they're going to band together with you and break the back of this thing. Break the back of this post-colonialism and all the mindset that has us in fear. There's so much fear. And the fear is here only because of what we have experienced in the past. But we are looking and understand then what is happening. The people are recognizing, Alwyn and Steve and everybody else who's on, they're recognizing that they are the opposition. And the opposition is growing. The opposition is the 280,000 people who live in Barbados. And the eyes of our understanding, they're being enlightened. And we're seeing things for what they are. And that's all that happened. That's all that happened. I don't know, anybody who's on was there. Who are the people? If you were on, if you're on and you were actually there, let me see your hand, please. If you're on, just put a finger up. I don't know how you do it on here, but let me know if you were here, if you were on. Yeah. But I am saying this is the average Barbadian here. Let me tell you, these people vex, eh? From the time they were there, I counted the first 50 persons were there, and they were huddled in a group, and they were talking, and they were just mad. 68, grave mistake. The people were vexed. They're vexed. They're upset, right? They're upset. Leave with Lifeline alone, and all different ages, all different walks of life. Trust me, you had older people, elderly people there, young people there, and you had people were entrepreneurs, people who were teachers, people who retired, people who were lawyers, all kinds of different people were there. Yes, and they came out and they were ready, right? They were ready, ready, ready. Let the MPs wait too, right? 50, right? They need to get to 68. Yeah, the MPs, let them wait. Let them wait. Right? The people were ready. They were ready. And listen, we can't discrimination. MPs 50, we 68. No, 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 no. No, no. The thing is that we're not letting up on this, right? This gentleman here in the black cap is Pastor Ferdinand Nichols, and I thank God for him. He's the only pastor I saw out there. Although I think Mr. Straker is a pastor who spoke so eloquently on the truck. And I can't remember his first name, but Mr. Straker, he used to work um, at the NIS, and he gave us a real class on the road. We had a class on the road. He was teaching on the road. Here you have Mr. Caswell Franklin, the general himself, on, and Winston right there. Winston is such someone that follows through. He's a Bajan, he follows through, man, and he's passionate about what he's doing. And he and the steering committee, they contributed as well, and not just financially, but being present and being involved. And I really rate him for that. See the flag there? We just had a few flags, but once we're going out again, we want to have flags, right? Now, I wanted, there's a young man, I don't see him in the picture, but he came in any of the pictures just yet. But he came ready, and he didn't just come ready he didn't just turn up there. He turned up with a large cooler with ice and water for his fellow Bajans. I thought that was so precious. We had some water that was donated, but it was hot. But he brought a huge cooler with ice, and he said, put it on the truck and make sure the people are hydrated. And he said I was supposed to work today, and I decided I wasn't going to work. And he said for the sick out, I stayed home as well, right? And the funny thing, he's in private, right? But he also has, he has some monies in the NIS as well. But and he was out and he brought water. That touched my heart, guys. And so when we're going out again, we're going to look out for one another. You hear? This is how we live. This is how our ancestors used to live, and they would be happy. They would be happy. Now, can I talk about this woman on the truck? I know. I have guests in the waiting room there in the green room, but let me go to this woman. This woman was fire. She was fire. She was everything that when I envision Bajans, Lynette. When you speak to Lynette, Miss Eastman. One-on-one, she's so calm and measured, right? Listen, when this woman grabbed this mic, I said, who is this? Who is this maroon? Nanny of the maroons? And she's come and said, let my people go. Listen, I felt like a proud Bajan, I tell you. I was a proud Bajan. I started jump up and down, man. I said, Lynette. And this is what I mean, guys. The sleeping giant is awake. Remember what I said? Because the giant is sleeping, when the giant is sleeping, people can walk, they will walk on top of the giant. Wasn't there a story like that? I think there is some fairy tale like that. The giant is sleeping, right? My Bajan people, when the giant's sleeping, people walk on the giant. They can stand up on them. If they want, they can do jobby on them. They can pee on them. They could do anything they want to do because the giant's sleeping. But let me tell you something here. So when the giant wake up, them are going to run and scatter. And that is what I am telling you. The sleeping giant is awake, and you're going to see what is going to happen in this country. They're going to run and scatter because the 280,000 people are minus the 30 realize that they are the opposition, and that those 30 in there are employed by them. Okay, they are employees. They were put there to work and being paid and getting all the perks. And I heard that one of them, the Liz in the Senate defending, she was she doubled down on the 50 years, defending why they should get their pension at 50. I didn't hear it myself, but several persons messaged me on that. If you heard that, you can confirm that in the chat. But can you imagine that? And so I was super thrilled to see her and to hear what she had to say. And my girl was laying it down. I was so thrilled. See her there again. We the people will fight. We the people will fight. I don't mind if she say, listen, when you talk, as I said, she talking to yourself about it, but when Nanny of the Maroons grabbed that mic, the whole of Bridgetown heard. Let me tell you, and people were joining the march. They just came and just start joining the march, right? And now, yeah. So we are super, as you can see, super excited about what has happened. Yes, right. It's Jack on the Beanstalk. Okay, yeah, Jack on the Beanstalk. And then to imagine, to think that they said that someone, actually, people called us at about 6 o'clock on Friday complaining that, you know, they won't. Why would we postpone the march? Why did we cancel the march? And we didn't. But is there little tactics that they do, right? All these little tactics that they do, and so I am just thrilled. Listen, I brought we have as our guest tonight a Bajan, one of our guests tonight, a Bajan, Heather Cole. And Heather is in New York at the moment, and she's the one who put her hand up. Hi, Jason. Jason is saying he was there. She's one of those who put her hand up and said, "I want to help, and I'm going to work on the petition." And so you will see the name Heather Cole. The petition is by Heather Cole, and that's the thing about this here, guys. It isn't what all about Barbados. Whether you live in Barbados or you live outside of Barbados. The next time the march is, I see somebody said, I wish I was there, but I'm in the UK. Well, put on your own in the UK. Find the Bajans that are up, and they know what's going on, right? And connect with other Bajans in the UK and put on your own protest in the UK. And Heather, she started the petition. Welcome, Heather. Good to see you.
Thank you, Marcia. Hello to everyone in Barbados. It is great to be here on the show, and I've been listening and being enlightened by things that Marcia said. And I want to address a few points that she mentioned just now. But first off, my thoughts are that we are on the dawn of a new emancipation. And the reason why I said that is that it takes an effort that comes from the people to let government see where they want to go. And although in the past our people have been, let's say, not as demonstrative as people in Jamaica or as in Haiti, because they didn't have a place to run, they also had mechanisms of resistance. For example, they would burn the canes, put things in people's food. They did whatever they could, but there was a resistance, but it was not as active as in those larger countries. And also, I must mention that there were some rebellions in Barbados. We know, well, that the most recent one was in 1816, but I think that there were at least 2 or 3 prior to that in the 17th century. And what the authorities did was they crushed them. And at that time, a bulk of the population were the English and Irish indentured servants who were on the island. So thousands of them were killed, slaves, and these indentured servants were killed. And also one form, remember in Barbados, they have this thing, if you say something that the government might not like or the police might not like, people usually say, hush your mouth, right? Hush your mouth. But it isn't that we didn't resist, we spoke, but people who were sensitive to the fact that we may have been beaten or killed or whatever will tell everybody, hush your mouth. And when I was a little girl, I grew up hearing my mother say that, hush your mouth. And it was only when I got older that I came to realize what it means. That was a way of protecting people from being brutalized. So the resistance was there. And also, what I want to say is that I have found, or at least maybe found is not the correct word, but it goes back to our Constitution and the laws that were created for Barbadians at independence time. And to me, for people who were the victims of a crime, the working class Barbadians, none of the laws have been made out in their favor. It is always against them. And I firmly believe that we are at the right point in time where we must make our laws more grounded in civil justice, so that the ordinary man in the street can have a vehicle, can have a law, that at least one law that is in his favor to help him to fight oppression. And I believe that that will take us a long, long way into the future. And we have, I think there was some local government commission that was held a few months ago or so. And the minister who is now in the Attorney General's office, I will have to look at it again, but what he delivered, it was a lot of write-up. Basically, that was it, a lot of write-up, but it did not empower the people to have a say in politics. And by having a say in politics, I mean that this is a time that we should be able to have propositions from the people going into parliament. And we don't have anything like that. And this is the 21st century. So we are soundly lacking in areas like that, where we must try to overcome and empower our people. There is absolutely no reason today that we who are demonstrating against the move of the national insurance bills, that we could not have contacted our members of parliament and said that we want something put into law to prevent this from happening. The law should have been there by now, so that we, the people, can propose changes to existing laws and and to have the ability to create new laws. That is soundly lacking in Barbados. And also, one thing is, when I left Barbados, I had just accrued the 500 contributions that gave me the ability to have a pension. And if they are going to have this new law beginning from 2028, it means that I will not be eligible to have my pension when I turn 65. So I too will be affected by the changes that they are creating, and I protest strongly. In my opinion, I signed off on that. That was my money, and I see absolutely no reason why I should not get it when I am 65. So that one hit me in my heart. People think that everybody in New York is well off and whatever, you will bring home a ton of money to Barbados. That is not always the case. I've worked as hard as I have in Barbados right here, and I see no reason why I should not. Both pensions would be mine. I would have accrued them. And I think that when I am ready to leave this place, I should be able to go home and live my life in comfort for the rest of my life, just like any politician. So I am absolutely opposed to the changes in the laws.
Yeah, it's good to hear from you and hear how how you said it hit you in your stomach when you heard, because you were expecting it. You're
Exactly.
expecting it, and some people are planning to come back to Barbados to retire and so on. It's so the people in the diaspora, you're affected too. And this is why I say, Heather, I want to thank you for putting together the petition. But I also want to and I mean, and you, not only that, but you've also put your money there where you have donated money to that petition to get it to go further. Because you know, when you donate the money to the
Mhm.
petitions, then what they do, they advertise it for you. And Heather is doing that. She's also planning to send money for the next march that we are going to do. And but I'm saying to people in New York as well, what you can do, link up, link up, find Heather. She can find her on Facebook, right? Find Heather, find others of you. I see Veronica is there from New York as well. And do your own protest, even if you do it on your veranda, on your porch, as you would say in New York, right? Go somewhere, do it, do something, you know, and show the solidarity. You don't need a lot, you know, but they need to. It needs to just register. They understand that you're in the diaspora and you matter. That's the other thing. They need to
Exactly.
understand that the diaspora matters. And I know that I'm not pushing any political party, but I remember that this is something that David Thompson, you know, was genuinely trying to pursue. I don't know where it's at now. I know when they want votes and they want to see a certain way, then they go and talk to people in New York, and they. But really and truly, what voice do the people in the diaspora really have?
You can't vote unless you come back to Barbados. But no, you should be able to vote from wherever you are.
Yeah, you know, so we need you part of this fight, and we need to send a message to our government, whoever they are, those that are going to come and beg for votes, you know, coming up, that we need the diaspora matters, because they are affected by some of the laws that are being passed here, as you heard from her. You know, I see Winston is there. Winston, I was just bigging you up, Winston, and talking about your commitment and your love for your country. You know, you love Barbados, and you love Bajans. You know, and just how you worked with the steering committee to get donations to make it happen, Winston. You are an amazing man, and I hope you can jump on tonight and you know, and say a few words. And I want some of you to shut up those on Facebook. Someone came on here talking about, you know, Nicole, that they need to lock up Winston. Did you see all the police that were out there? And did you see that Winston was on the truck speaking? Huh? Why didn't they lock him up? You all need to stop it. A lot of you, you know, you're just listening to what, because they're afraid of this man. They're afraid of him. So they're going to bring up his past. But who don't have a past? And
I wonder.
Winston, right?
I
Winston,
wonder.
you're doing a great job for your country, my brother. Yes. And somebody say, Heather, thank you for all you do. Wait, right there from New York. Right there from New York. And let me tell you, this woman here, along with Veronica and myself and other women, and also I won't forget her. Oh boy, there was another lady that had another group that was pushing all the time. She lives outside of Barbados, but for the GIS, there's a group of women, let me tell you, and men came together and brought that GIS down, right? And Heather played a part in that as well, and myself and Lisa Niles and Veronica Price, and there is another lady who did. I mean, she started way before we got involved. Can you tell me her name, Heather?
One
Uh,
moment. I'll find it and
Paula,
tell you.
Paula, somebody who listening will know, but she is such an advocate for the people, the children at GIS. She was on Emmanuel's show. Even before we were talking about GIS, she was doing that. And this is what I brought that up, because I want you to understand, for those people who say when you march, it don't make a difference. You guys come on here, you don't make a difference. It made a difference. What did you see all the reforms that came to GIS? These women were writing to that minister. We had lawyers on our team, and they were writing. And I want to find that lady's name because we want to big her up. Somebody, do you all remember who it is? She was she took them to task on about these young ladies that were they said were wandering. And I just can't remember. She came on the program just the other day. She jumped in, and I want to remember her name to big her up. But it is all of us doing something together, and this is going to be, according to Lynette coined a phrase, pull back those bills, pull back that bill. She said, da, pull back that bill. How is my Bajan? My Bajan got Marsha Hines is a
Yes,
woman.
Marsha. Yes.
Yes. Listen, that woman, Marsha Hines. I don't know if anybody, but send her the link, man. We need to big up Marsha. Marsha Hines is a maroon in a Marsha Hines is a nanny. Marsha Hines, that's the real deal right there. Marsha Hines, that woman is a nanny of the maroons. I tell you that these maroons are here in Barbados. Yes. Oh my God. Let me bring another maroon in. Another one. So we have Heather. We have a nanny of the maroon here. And Heather in Heather Cole. And we just big up Marsha Hines. And we have Winston Clark is a Kojo over there. Hi, Winston is a Kojo. And you know what we're gonna call? What we're gonna call Mr. Franklin? I think he's probably resting tonight. What we're gonna call Mr. Franklin? It was Kojo. What was the other one? You have Nani and Kojo, and there is another one. But he's a Kojo as well, right? He's a general. No, here's a Nani of the Maroons. Good night, Miss Eastman. You ready to talk to us? Miss Eastman, you right there, Lynette?
Sure.
It's here.
Okay.
Yes. Good night. Good night.
So good night. Thank you, Marcia. Thank you for all that you do. Thanks to Heather as well. I've known Heather for many, many years, but that was another Heather that I knew. This is a different Heather. The other Heather that the other one just used to work very diligently, but this is a different one. Like when I first, I think it's probably through Facebook, I saw you again for the first time. And I was saying, this is the same Heather, but it is. You aren't Gemini, are you? That you have two different personalities.
Yeah, but I think I have different personalities. I think so.
Yeah. So yes, the march was very inspiring for me. I spoke what I felt, which is what I usually do. I can't pretend. I find that very difficult to do. I can't pretend. So those things will happen when I feel things. Other than that, I just be pretending. But I like where Heather started. And one of the things I would like to do is to bring some awareness of what happened in the 60s and 70s, because we tend to believe that there was only one, in our modern history, we believe that there was only like one uprising or disturbance, and that was in the 1930s. But something happened in the 1960s and 70s as well. Now, the reason that I think a lot of people don't know about it is because the authorities at the time so clouded it in the idea that it was a Black Power movement copied from the USA. So they set up this idea that it was the Black Power movement from the USA and that we didn't need a Black Power movement because we're all Black people. When the truth is that wasn't what it is. And I think the reason that's one of the reasons you don't hear people talking about what happened in the 60s and 70s at all. And I think they did a very good job at actually destroying the people who were involved in the movement. But like many of the movements that occur, they occur across the region. They don't just occur in Barbados. In the 1860s, that was happening across the region. In the 1930s, it was happening across the region as well. And in the 60s and 70s, these things were happening across the region as well. So we started out in the 1960s, and it was largely an intellectual movement at the time, because it would seem as though every few decades, you know, there's a promise that better will be done. And then the people realize that better is not being done by them. So you would have had emancipation. You would have had a promise that things would be better, but still working conditions were bad. When you hear people talk about starvation wages as a euphemism, people were actually starving back in those days. That's why you find, like with the Panama story, you have to link it with the Panama story as well. There are many Barbadians, not just Barbadians, from across the region who left and went to Panama to build that Panama Canal. And if you look at the Panama story, so many of them got killed because they were doing something that was innovative. They were dealing with dynamite. They would just they were walking around with it. It would just blow up. It would kill them. And they knew that before they left. But things were so dire in the region that people literally didn't have anything to eat. So this was an escape for them. And when they went there, of course, they faced the same discrimination that they faced elsewhere. The blacks had very poor quarters. The whites had different quarters. They were paid less, even if they were doing the same work. So all those things were going on. So in the 60s, the intellectual, these would be people that mostly driven by people at the university, because the university was coming along now. And you would have a connection amongst these individuals within the region. And of course, Dr. Walter Rodney is someone we know of who came along in the 60s. I mean, Walter Rodney was a brilliant man who not only lectured in the region, but went all over the world. He's recognized around the world as really a brilliant scholar. And in 1968, when all of this was going on, and I understand the enthusiasm that they would have had, because like these are the best brains in the region, saying that we are going to come up with a new economic system that will benefit the majority of people. That's what they were trying to do. They were trying to use their intellectual capacity to do good, not just to give lectures, not just to write theses and put them on a shelf, but to actually try to translate these things into actual programs that would benefit people across the region. And it was a regional effort. So usually when politicians see these things starting to emerge, and it does not include them, or you don't go and ask them, may we do this, or we would like to get you on board with this, they're concerned. So Dr. Rodney, lecturing in Jamaica in 1968, Yushera thought that he would cause problems in Jamaica, and he was deported. So he left there. And when he was deported, it caused demonstrations and refusals to go to class, etc., in Jamaica and also in Barbados. So, there's the point I keep making. What we're going through tends to be regional. And I believe the division that is created between our people, even though we seem naturally to be doing the same thing, I believe it is deliberate. So that was one of the big catalysts for concern in the region about what was happening. That was his deportation from Jamaica. But in addition to that, then you also had things being stirred up in Trinidad and Tobago. And Trinidad and Tobago was probably the most volatile situation, to the extent that the Trinidad government got United States warships to anchor off the coast of Trinidad.
Wow.
In case there were going to be riots. Because what happened, and I can't remember the year, but there was a particular person, a young man, who was involved in what they dubbed the Black Power movement, but it was really a movement for enfranchisement of people. Because especially in Trinidad, a lot of the people of African descent, they worked in oil and sugar. Most of the people of East African descent the Africans worked with oil, the Indians tended to work with sugar. And the conditions were deplorable for both of them. Now, what then happened is that when the people started to rise up in Trinidad, the military or the defense force said they were not going to allow themselves to be used against the people. Mm-hmm. So you had a man called LaSalle and Rafik Shah, who staged a mutiny, took over the defense force, and said that, we are not going to allow you to use us to shoot Trinidadians. So what you actually had at that point in time, you had a convergence between the East Indians and the Africans working together. So a state of emergency was called. The legislation that allows you to lock up people was strengthened, and they locked up these people, a whole set of them. George Week, Granger, Rafik Shah, all of these people. And I was reading something by Rafik Shah. He was saying that all politicians in Trinidad understand that if they were ever to allow the East Indians and Africans to work together, that they could not continue doing what they were doing. So you will notice in Trinidad, there's always this East Indian African division, even though back in that day, and continues to be so, both groups at certain levels are treated, are in situations of poverty.
Correct.
But they don't ever want them to come together. So the politicians keep that divide. I mean, that is his opinion. But in all of these things, we have to delve into these things as well, because to some extent it is done in Barbados as well. There's white people are made to feel that anytime you speak out, that somehow it is against them, whatever it is. And this continues to be the case. And these things are done deliberately. So when it comes to Barbados now, and what happened in the 60s and 70s, I've read some work done by researchers at the university. And it shows that we had a group called the People's Progressive Movement, I think it was, the PPM. And it was led by Calvin Alleyne, a man called Calvin Alleyne, who many of us probably don't remember, but we remember Bobby Clark because he continued to be an activist. But that movement was led by them, and there were people with them. It was an activist movement, and they used to publish a newspaper called the Black Star. And so that was happening in Barbados in the 60s and 70s, but nobody seems, I have never come across it written anywhere. I don't know, for some reason it's a secret. Well, not for some reason, it's a secret because we are supposed to be told that nothing ever happened in Barbados since the 1930s. And we're supposed to believe that. But that is absolutely not true. So these people were involved. People like Eric Seeley were involved too. And you know, people would say a lot of things about Eric Seeley, but what I can say is that if a man on his own who is not rich can set up a platform, and in that day and age with big parties and big names involved, and he can set up a platform and thousands of people would come, that is an achievement. Mm-hmm. So what happened in Barbados as well is that the People's Pressure Movement and Eric Seeley in those days tried to get people like the same Geddes Granger from Trinidad, who was with an organization called NJAC. They tried to get him to come here to speak. They refused to allow him to come here. People like Stokely Carmichael, Rosie Douglas. Yes. Some of them, they allowed them to come, but they wouldn't allow them to speak. Some of them, they did not allow them to enter the island at all. And they weren't doing anything illegal. They were just coming to set up a platform to speak. You started to have situations where that political party and Eric Seeley, whenever they had meetings, there was a large police presence, always. So the fear was, if we keep going to these meetings, we can get locked up. The second big point across the region, and I researched when all of them were passed, across the region, public order acts were passed. And one was passed in Barbados too at that time. And that is the Public Order Act that causes you to have to pay $2,000 simply to put on a small march. It came out of that act. And these were implemented. I found only one country in the region that did not go ahead and implement one of these acts, but they're there: Trinidad, Jamaica, Guyana, Grenada, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, all of them, public order acts to make it expensive for people who want to protest and also to lock them up. So when the act was passed in Barbados, Bobby Clark was the first person that was locked up under the Public Order Act. So I really want Barbadians to understand that it is this idea of protesting and marching is something that political operatives know of, and it is something that they shut down and oppress in a very deliberate fashion. One of the things that they use as well, and I'm saying this so that when it happens, you know, one of the things they do too is they say that, you know, so Errol Barrow came out at that time and said that these individuals are the biggest set of misfits and dropouts he has ever come across in his life. So, you know, Bobby Clark was a lawyer, Calvin Allen. So it wasn't that they weren't trained or anything in a particular discipline. There were, but that is how he described them. And so when you get a big man like Errol Barrow saying this about somebody, people are likely to believe him, even though one might say, "Oh, but like he ain't got a law degree, he ain't a lawyer." And you know, somebody would say, "Oh, you know, but Barrow said that them is idiots." So people would believe that. So any effort at protest, this is the response that you tend to get. The professional classes traditionally have not been with protests at all. Unlike what you would see in other countries, you see in France and all that, people go there running about that marching and that kind of thing. They tend to be university lecturers, doctors, all kinds of people. But we haven't evolved to that stage. We are still at the stage where the professional class seems to provide some kind of buffer between those who abuse their privilege and poor people. when poor people look at them, they say, well, I know he's a professional, but he's grandson. So he ain't really doing nothing against me. He must be saying something true. The privileged people look at them and say, oh, they won't be with me. So they figure they have them under control. So you will still find that in Barbados, the professional classes act in that way. They don't say much. They don't come out and do much. They probably believe that in their little space, like if they're a doctor or whatever, and a man comes in there and they ain't got enough money, they will say, okay, don't bother with the $50. They figure that they're making their contribution to the country in that way by providing health services and giving somebody a little ease when they come in to get medical care. The professional class in Barbados does not feel that it should lead any fight against injustice. As a class, it does not. It does not. That's the truth.
Wow.
And then what they can be used for is when you're protesting to pretend that they don't understand what you're saying.
Right. And what's the need for all of this?
What's the need?
No, I'm saying you get that from there. What is this all about? This doesn't make sense.
Yeah, like they don't understand. Now, it's a funny thing for me that accountants would not feel that there should be accountability. To me, that should be more their thing than even
exactly. Exactly. But Miss Eastman, I'm going to break you here just to say that I did see some lawyers out there, at least 2 other lawyers, I believe they were out there, and I was quite surprised. I don't know if any accountants were out there. I'm a CPA, although I've not worked in that field in Barbados, but I don't know if any were out there, but I understand the point you're making, though. But I was really happy to see those lawyers out there. You were out there, Miss Nani of the Maroons. But I'm gonna break your bit and bring in Kemar Stewart, because he has to run off, and he has a book here, and we're going to have Miss Eastman. Don't go anywhere, because we have to get into talking about pulling that bill and to get Bajans to not give up. All right, we're going to keep pressuring, so just hang on. But this book, I don't know if you know this book, Miss Eastman, but I got this book yesterday.
Yes, I do know of the book. I know when it was launched. Did you have a show, Kemar, that I was on, or it was?
Yeah, we had a very great conversation on the show before, online show.
Yeah. So I'm quite familiar with his work. I also see his videos. I know that he is working very hard. And to me, he comes across as being very genuine in what he's doing.
Yes.
Very genuine. Because sometimes we have people who go into this particular area, and they're not there really for the people. It's either for power or prestige or something like this. But I get the impression that we have a genuine person with us.
Yes. And I agree. And Kemar gave me this book yesterday. I was so tired after the march. Went to my school, worked with the children there, and said, came home, took a shower. I'm just going to lay down. But let me take a little read of this book. And let me tell you, I think I'm almost at chapter 5 now. It's a very easy read. He did not ask me to come on to do this, guys. But the reason I read it, I'm all about educating myself, and this book, it's related to the Barbadian economy from 2018 to 2021, right, when Barbados declared itself a republic. And I would recommend this as a great read for people. I don't know how you can get it, because he didn't know I was coming on to promote the book really tonight. So he will have to tell us where we can get it. But and to believe, this young man, can I say your age?
Yeah, happy.
Yeah, he and my son went to school together at St. Michael's School. So he's like my son. He's 27 years old, and he's written a book, right? And we want to celebrate him. I know that there were some other people try, we would do that to another show, try to really destroy him, right? But we want to celebrate this Bajan man tonight, young man, yeah, young man. And
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
before he says anything, he's going to talk to us about the unions in Barbados, right? And I know Miss East would have enough to jump in about that as well. But in the book, he speaks about the unions, and I got an education about the whole thing last night when I read it, and really influenced how I wrote this evening. Although I put Toni was from the wrong union; she's from BWU, right? Union, but this book gives you, as I said, a great education on that matter. But did you all notice the other night when Kimar was speaking about the pension bills and about NIS, etc.? You know what he said? He said the issue with the crisis we are in at the moment is apolitical. It is something that was done by both parties. And you know, Miss, I've not heard anybody in his camp said this as yet. And I have not heard it. I'm not saying that it wasn't done, so don't come and kill me. But I like that. I like that. And it made me stop and think. I went to bed thinking about that. And I just want to say to those who are politicians that that is the kind of honesty that at this point, because we're fed up. We're fed up. We're tired. So this is the kind of honesty that we are looking for. All right. So with that said, it was a big, long introduction. Kimar, it's a pleasure to have you back here tonight. And I know you would have, yes, I know you would have seen the article that came out yesterday in the paper that the NUPW, that they are now saying that, you know what, we don't, you know, we have a problem with the age limit. No, they never said anything before, but they're now saying, do you think, what do you think sparked that? What do you think is the reason that they came out to say something like that?
Well, first, thank you for the introduction, and thank you for having me back on the show. I appreciate it greatly. About these unions, I want to get to work about that. There's something called controlled opposition. And at this point, the unions are indeed controlled opposition because the head of the NUPW and the head of the BW is at every Barbados Labour Party annual conference, every Barbados Labour Party activity, picnic, event, and the pictures are posted online for everybody to see. So it is no shocker. If you have conversations with the union members, they will tell you openly that these union leaders tell them that they don't really want to offend the government. So throwing a spread out there to give the Belgian public that there's still some type of legitimacy in the unions is just part of the course. So I wouldn't be distracted by that, because I saw an article as well which says that the government may not have the room to remove the pension changes. And I would encourage you to have some conversations with the head of these unions. Many of them are not versed in the area of law, are not versed in the area of economics, or have an understanding of standard labor practices. Most of them are political actors doing political roles, and most of them just operate from mandates handed down from the political party that they are members of, or co-opted in. So once upon a time, the unions had vibrant representatives, not just because he's a member of my party, but Robert Bobby Morris, a person I hold in high regard as it relates to union representation. We had union leaders who would fight for the people, although being part of a political organization. When push comes to shove, sometimes you will see their bias, but most of the time you would believe that these leaders had the best interests of the members at heart, but that's not the case in these times. And why I say that is because we had union leaders fighting a government for a 23% increase, fighting marches, protests, everything they did to topple the government, and then when they got in, they accepted 4%. 4%. Down from 23, 4%. So I can say I don't even hide it or sugarcoat it. That's a direct sellout. And all along we had persons saying that Toni Moore, I'm not saying you, I'm saying Toni Moore. We had persons saying that Toni Moore was being prepared to be a member of the Barbados Labour Party and be a candidate, or that she was promised ambassadorship, or she was promised some big title. And persons were ignoring that. And it was proven when the government forced Glenn Clark, a sitting member of parliament for 20-something years, one of our longest representatives, forced him in the middle of COVID to get up and go to a cold country like Canada to talk about he's an ambassador to Canada, to put Toni Moore in a seat that she knows nothing about, told the people on the platform that she does not have to be present in the constituency, that she can represent them via WhatsApp, while still collecting the union dues, while still driving the union's big vehicle, still collecting a parliamentary salary, going into negotiations, negotiating wage increases, because there were 2 wage increases for the public servants. And as I said, whenever the public servants' wage go up, the politicians' wage go up. So she had 2 wage increases for herself, right? And then on top of that, whatever benefits under the cover they slip through. So I am saying that this lady is a direct sellout, and the newspapers can print that tomorrow, big front page, that Kimar Stewart said that the representative for St. George North for the Barbados Labour Party, Toni Moore, is a sellout of the Barbadian people and the unions. And I would encourage all of the union members to stop supporting her and to put a no confidence motion in her, because this pension bill again proves, and as she wore her colors bright on her chest when she said that the BWU will not be a part of any march or any protest, that should have brought the no confidence motion in her, both as the union leader and both as a member of parliament for St. George North.
Wow, and you know, go ahead, Lynette.
I want to ask Kimar a question as a politician, because there are certain things that politicians have done, some of them unprecedented, including this one with Toni Moore, where Toni Moore is heading a union, and she's also sitting in the legislature. To me, there seems to be some kind of conflict there. But if you say this to many Barbadians, they would say, well, that is politics. Now, that is something that I have always found very difficult to respond to. When people tell me there are things that appear to me to be wrong, that people are doing, that they're wrong. I felt, for example, that it was very wrong when the Barbados Labour Party convened a meeting, a disciplinary hearing, and fired Maria Agard from being the representative in Christchurch West. She was a sitting MP at the time. I felt that was wrong. There were no charges, there were no serious charges brought. In fact, people always seem to feel that there were serious charges, but that they were so serious that you couldn't make them public. But the truth is, the woman had done nothing. It's just that she wasn't liked, she wasn't favored. But then people would say to me that, well, that's politics. People also say to me that there's a different morality in politics, which means then that you could be immoral, you can act without integrity. you can buy out people. So I see a lot of these structures in Barbados unraveling because people are being purchased, and because Barbadians now seem to want to be the ultimate politician. And even when there's wrongdoing, they seem to want to understand that it is politics, which I think is wrong. You are not a politician. You are a citizen, and you should still be looking for integrity and morality.
Correct.
So I would like to hear what Kimar thinks about this, because it seems as though you could just do anything that you like in the name of it. Oh, it's politics, and there's a different morality in politics. I don't get that. I can't live two different ways.
But I agree with Lynette, and what I'm going to say here is, if you have an inkling of integrity, one, I don't think you should have accepted the government's offer to be a member of parliament. Even if you did, you probably should have resigned as the head of the union, because union business is serious business. You're in there negotiating with the lives of people, you're in there negotiating the freedoms of people. And if you're sitting in there with a what they call dishonest government, and you two now doing dishonest things to fleece the people of their rights, then I think that you need to go. I don't think you need to be collecting two sets of wages. The Barbados Workers Union, the backs on the backs of people, collecting the workers' dues, and you're driving all fancy, probably driving past the same workers, not even a beep of the horn anymore. I come from St. George North, so I can tell you for a fact. Go to St. George North and ask the people in there what type of representation they be having from Toni Moore. Non-existent. What speech Toni Moore ever got in Parliament and put forward on defense of the workers? She said she was going in there to defend the workers. I can't recall ever hearing any proper speech. This
in fact, you know, we need to make it clear that she is a parliamentarian, and this bill was passed in Parliament. Did we hear her refute it? Did we hear? Did I miss something? Has she ever stood up and debated it?
Well, I didn't hear anything from her. In fact, again, I didn't hear anything. I will have to go and check. I probably missed it. I doubt, because if it's one body whose comments would have mattered at this time, her comments would have mattered at this time, as she opposed the bill, which she couldn't oppose the bill because she was probably in discussions. But however, she probably has to tour the party line because she's not in there as an independent MP or opposition MP. So when the party whip is cracked, she probably couldn't get up and say anything. So what is the purpose of having this particular union leader in Parliament if whenever the Barbados Labour Party cracks the whip on you, you can't say anything? You're in the room, you're negotiating, you have to agree with these measures. There's no justification or there's no logical reason that she could put forward to say that these measures are right or to say that these measures will help the people. No. So I'm saying, based off the sellout of the people, we should be asking her. Well, we should ask the members of the union, not asking her because she will never do it. We should be asking the members of the union. Again, people power, the people who pay the dues to the union, to table a no confidence motion in Toni Moore, unless she resigns her office as an MP. So she has to pick one. Either you're a union leader fighting for the rights of people, or you're a parliamentary representative. I'm not saying how practical both can be for her. I'm not saying that maybe it cannot be practical in a general sense, but we are being real now. As you said, Marcia, we are tired. We are tired of we want real, genuine representation. And I'm saying, had she stood up and said to the government, this is wrong, we will not accept this. Here's a better proposal. Here's what the workers think. They're saying that they're not a part of any type of protest and they'll not be joining with the people first again who pay her dues and then who are paying her parliamentary salary through taxes, because we may ignore the fact that a tax may come to help replenish the same NIS, because that's very highly likely in these reforms. The government may implement another tax on the people to be able to raise the funds to recapitalize the money that they roll off. And if I keep referencing the IMF programs around the world, when you look across all of the IMF programs, the governments actually put taxes and levies on the people to be able to replenish whatever losses the NIS had. So if we continue to deliver the people to hell, well poor, and we continue to pay people this, I'm not saying union leader, I'm saying this particular union leader, because Richard Green comes across as a bit more fair and balanced, and I say he comes across, but for this particular individual, I don't see the fairness, I don't see the balance, and I don't see any reason why we as Barbadians should sit down any longer and allow these type of things to happen in the country, where we can clearly see that these type of persons who use the sat on the backs of Barbadians for social upliftment, never really interested in the representation of the people, a person who was handpicked and put in there, probably again from political machinations and the pulling the strings to help control the union, help to topple the entire government, refusing to work with that government. And again, you came in and accepted 4%, and told the workers you have that. But then you gone in there and got a 16% increase allowance in your pay, and then you got a 4%, and then you got another 6%. So you're seeing how much money, how much benefits this particular individual has received from serving two masters.
I tell you, this is quite interesting. This gentleman is asking, has Toni Moore accepted the 4% from management instead of the agreed 23% by the workers? I am lost. Kindly explain, please.
Well, at the time, this was before 2018 when the government changed, when we had some of the protests in Bridgetown. The workers were had some demands on the table. So if you can remember, at the time, Akani McDowell was the president of the NUPW. And what I'm also hearing is that Akani McDowell will be chosen to represent the Barbados Labour Party in a particular constituency next election.
Wow. So that is what the rumor is, or the allegation is. That what?
The allegation is that Akani McDowell is being rewarded with a parliamentary seat next election with the Barbados Labour Party in a constituency.
He was the general secretary to before Toni Moore.
No, it's two different unions. It's the Barbados Workers Union and the National Union of Public Workers.
Right.
He was the leader of the NUPW, and she is the leader of the Barbados Workers Union.
Thank you.
So in a join up between the unions and the negotiations, they would have collectively decided that, or the workers wanted they were saying they're demanding a 23% increase. The government was offering them 12%. The government offered them 12%. They refused to accept that 12% in negotiations. They pivoted here, refused to really negotiate with the government in good faith, because at that time, as you can see, they were in bed with the opposition leader, who is now the prime minister. I've never heard nowhere in the world where business owners would pay its workers to go there and march against a government, but that happened in Barbados. I've never heard anybody receive a day's pay from your boss, and your boss telling you, hey, receive your paycheck and go there and march against the government.
But
never heard it anywhere in the world.
Barbadians have become more interested in political intrigue. I don't know if it's from watching US politics, than standing really as citizens and saying that this is wrong. this doesn't suit my interest, because it can't be in anybody's interest other than politicians for my union leader to also be in the legislature and also be part of the parliamentary party of a political party. It can't be. But instead of people saying, "Oh no, that's not in my interest," I'm seeing a conflict of interest, I'm concerned, they say that it's boss politics. So I
Mm-hmm.
we
hear.
gotta go back
Yeah,
back to this. We didn't used to do that before.
no, I hear people think, oh, oh, that's clever, but they don't realize, as Kimar is pointing out so clearly, that it is the workers that's going to be affected. It's the poor people that's going to be affected. It's that has created where we are right now, because if we had strong unions, there is no way. First of all, we wouldn't have to be the one organizing a march. They would have hit the streets, right, Kimar? I know you have to run soon, right, Kimar? We will,
Yeah,
if the unions were strong, we wouldn't have to go on the streets, right?
yeah. Well, this is going to be my last point here. Whenever a government is seeking to fully control or take over, and you see all over America, the governments usually try to break the backs of the unions and infiltrate the unions, either manage them into decline or put plans to lead them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at in England now, we had Jeremy Corbyn, who was the head of a union, and he was the opposition leader, and he had a solid base of workers' rights. And now you have Sir Keir Starmer, who is from the upper crust of society, and the labor movement in or the Labour Party in England seems to have lost its grassroots base. So when you have, I say, corporate interests or corporate leaders leading grassroots movements like the unions or whatever, people who are seeking, as I say, political advancement or corporate advancement, we tend to get these type of activities happening,
Mm-hmm.
and governments take advantage of the ambition, the raw ambitions of these persons, and play it to their benefit. So the government knew that prior to the IMF negotiations required weak unions, so they pulled in the weakest link and put them next to them to sit down. Because whenever certain draconian moves need to happen, they already have this person compromised in their pocket. So whatever motions have to pass. If Caswell Franklin was the head of the NUPW, or if he was the head of the Barbados Workers Union, or if he had full control over them right now, things would be completely different.
Correct.
Because his motivation is different. I don't see him wanting to be an MP under the BLP or wanting to be an MP under the DLP. His representation seems to be true and true. And I actually was glad for the fact that he was put in the Senate to offer Barbadians representation. And my recommendation to the workers, if any of you are listening, just hand in your resignation letters from these unions and just go over to Caswell Franklin's union if you want real representation. What you have now is just mock up, sell out, selfish, self-serving MP. Well, we may call it MPs, but MP political wannabes who are just using the backs of the workers to kiss up to their political friends because they too want to be politicians. So it's no longer with the workers. And my advice to the workers will just don't say what I have for. Just give it up. Just stop paying dues. These unions are they say they're completely sold out, right out for the government. And I will leave you with this one point. Had Frondell Stewart did what Mia Motley is doing right now, Barbados will be turned right over upside down.
but she does it, and people say that that she's clever and not realizing that it's the people who are being hurt the people are being heard.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kimar. Before you leave, somebody was asking if they can get your book on Amazon.
Yeah, yes, the book is available on Amazon. Just type Alternate Views by Kimar Stewart or contact me directly at 846-9912. 846-9912. I do deliveries, home deliveries, whatever. Just contact me and I will have a book delivered right to you. The cost of the book is $50. The book is filled with a wealth of information. If you follow the book, you will completely understand what's happening right now. We have an
That's
entire
true.
chapter on pension reform. We did a slight run up till 2018, and then we started to speak after we did the IMF program. We did all of these sneaky bills that they tried to pursue to rob the people, like the debt settlement bill. Um, Again, we spoke about the unions. We spoke about the BEST program. We spoke about the central bank. We spoke about Dr. Kevin Greenwich in there. We spoke about state-owned enterprise reform. We spoke about the fact that the government will most likely privatize the Barbados Water Authority, and that's the next sellout that is coming to the people, the privatization of the Barbados Water Authority, and we need to be aware and we need to be ready to stand up and block that whenever it is happening.
Wow. Listen, I read this, and I also, all of last week and the week before, I've been, educating myself. But this book, I can tell you this, I'll be finished this by Wednesday,
Yeah,
because it's good reading. And again, for those of you who are going to say, oh, he came on to sell his book, he didn't ask me to do this. All right. Just understand that I genuinely, from my heart, and he's 27 years old and he's a young man and he's not out there slugging no guns and he's beige and true. I go and celebrate him. They're lucky. They're lucky. Love you, Kimar, and thank you for what you're doing. Okay, that was great. Thank
yes,
you
love
so
you
much.
too. Thank you and
Yes,
have a good night, everyone. And good night
yes,
to you, Lynette. It was great to be on with you again. By Marcia and bye to the audience.
yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Kimar.
Yes.
Yes, thank you so much. Isn't it great to see someone, his age, on and speaking like that, Lynette? Isn't that awesome?
No, well, as we were discussing, he had a program going, and we actually discussed quite a few issues. At that time, we were looking at international business, the developments in international tax, and that kind of thing. And and it was quite good. It even got some press outside of Barbados, so he was doing a good job. So I've always had a very good relationship, and I'm always admiring the work that he's doing because he's always working. He's
He's
always putting
always
out something.
working.
He's always researching something, And I know we don't give people like him a lot of credit sometimes. Tend to we tend to overlook the workers. We tend to overlook the workers. We tend to give more credit to the shouters.
Yes.
But that's just life.
Yes, I just, and we don't honor each other enough. We don't honor and appreciate each other enough. And whenever I think of him, I smile because it's like he's my son. And one of these days, I'll have him come on to tell the whole story how they tried to frame him. But God is a good God. But well, we have joining us, and I know she doesn't have a lot of time, is Miss Maxine McLean. And I asked her to come on because she was with us, Lynette, at the very first the Sunday, July 3rd, July 29th it was, is it? Or July 30th?
30th.
July 30th. Miss McLean, another maroon, another nanny, right? And very stately and so on. But don't let it fool you. I tell you about these Bajans, Winston. I tell you, they're not easy. And what I love about it is that we have people from all walks of life, who were on this program, and she was one of those who educated us. Miss McLean, you've been watching what has occurred since we came on here July 30th. I know you weren't on every night, but what some nights you listened because you had some other things you were dealing with. What's your take on what's going on at this time?
Well, thank you very much for having me, Marcia, and good evening to Lynette, Mr. Clark, um, Miss
Cole, Heather
Cole,
Cole.
Heather Cole, and everybody, and Kimar who just left. Um, I really want to say that for me, as I reflect on it's about 2 weeks now, to the first show, because it would have been today is the 13th, it was the 30th, and we had 31 days in July. This to me demonstrates, and I think we've been hearing over and over again, the power of people, and the whole organic movement. Because I know some persons have sought to label what you do, but I can say that having worked with Marcy and observed her work before, going back to probably 2014, 2012, there's a commitment to seeing things done that are in the best interest of Barbadians. And for me, the frustration of the debate, and so I was going to go back and come forward, but I think no, since I started 28th, I'll go back and come forward. I was going to go the other way. I was going to go from Saturday and then work back. But I look at what transpired, and which really prompted and galvanized the comments, not only of your guests, but the comments of Barbadians and the actions of Barbadians, was the very cavalier, and I'm trying to choose my words carefully in terms of trying to words that really capture what I saw, what I heard, what I experienced as I listened to what transpired in the Senate on two matters that kind of caught me by surprise. To be honest, I traditionally have been a very close follower of debates, but what I've seen coming out of Parliament in the last 2-3 years, well, has really been, and I'm going to use an expression used by late Prime Minister when he talked about poor Reiki. It is worse than that. It has been, up to me, a total disrespect of Barbadians. I sat through, because of what happened, when I listened to the confusion, because when I asked a couple of people, they had no clue what transpired. When I listened and I looked at the legislation before the House of Assembly, and that was to go to the Senate, there was no connection. And I made that point before. What really bothered me was that it was not only a failure to address the legislation, but it was a disrespect to Barbadians whose lives will be impacted by the passage of that legislation, or whose lives are currently impacted by the entities, in the case of national insurance, and as employees of the public servant of the public service in case of the second piece of legislation. And people did not see it fit to seriously pay attention to what was, to this matter. The lack of attendance, the lack of serious participation in presentations, because as somebody pointed out previously, in the absence of an opposition, we don't really get debates. We get statements being made, and so on. And so my concern was, here you have a government that is committed to transparency, etc., a system that has been put in place as part of our democratic socialist tradition, a commitment to the people of this country and making sure that we provide for these people, a situation where over the years we have had concerns raised about the national insurance scheme, but notwithstanding that, a system which has been, and I use the term from commercials that have ran for years, a lifeline for many of us. As I reflected on this, I started work at 18 years old. Quite coincidentally, my first job was in a building that is steeped in controversy. Now, that's what used to call the Old Ward. It is that building across from the St. Patrick's Cathedral. My first job was a clerical officer in government in the welfare department, working specifically in accounts at child care board. And from then on till I stopped working in May of 2018, except for when I went to graduate school and the 2 years full time that I spent at KFL, I paid national insurance. And I want upfront, Marcia, as I reflect, to say to Barbadians, do not even contemplate exiting that scheme or not participating. That's the one. The other side of it, I would say to persons who are self-employed, make sure that you contribute, because I have seen people come to me in tears saying they did not, they were self-employed, they were earning, and they were comfortable, and they did not prepare, and now they have no means of supporting themselves in any substantial way. So I would say it is a scheme that is vital to our existence, and it is one that has a lot to offer. What I would say, though, as I reflect on this bill, because we've talked about the scheme, we've heard a lot of comments, about abuse of the system. Up to today, I participated virtually at St. George Parish Church, and I was a little dismayed, and I will take it up with him, Reverend Dr. Senator Reverend Dr. John Rogers, and he talked about abuse. Now, that is another time for another show, Marcia, which I will probably suggest to you that you look at this, because certainly, while some people may not necessarily agree with how certain monies were spent, I never participated as a minister of government in any abuse of the system, but I've avoided speaking to that. But I think part of the benefits of what you have been able to do through this program has been to get people to start thinking and researching on what has happened. So I really am happy to see that. I also want to flag what I see as a direct consequence of your program and all that has flowed from that since the night of the 30th of July when you did this program. I took time to sit down for the entire day and evening on Wednesday last when the Senate met, because I wanted to understand how they were going to deal with these matters. And what I can tell you is I saw a level of preparation which was not characteristic of what I saw in the House of Assembly, or which I do not often see in relation to some of those debates. However, at the same time, I was still not happy that the lead presenter, that is Senator Cummins, I know she has a way with words, and so on. She did not deal adequately with all of the two bills because they use the same format. But I want Marcia and company to commend two independent senators in particular, as well as others, but two in particular who stood out would have been Senator Drakes, Senator Dr. Hines. I also think, and I was able to listen in full to his, Senator Kevin Boyce did raise some very interesting and useful points. Many others did too on the independent side. But what that said to me is that there was pressure exerted on our politicians to respect their responsibility to Barbadians, especially when we are dealing with matters that are central to our very existence. I also recall, and I want to say something about the march. I happened to have had two funerals yesterday, and I was able to reflect after on observe rather some of the images and so on. And I remember the comment that Lynette made about politicians' reaction to strikes and protests and marches, etc. And I think what that did was to say to Barbadians and to the public that Barbadians are listening, they're paying attention, and they are quite willing to demonstrate their concerns in peaceful ways, but ways that are essential highly visible, etc. So for me, Marcy, I think what hopefully comes out of this is a continued interest on the part of Barbadians on things that are important to them. I want, as part of that reflection, to just comment quickly and probably stop and hear what you and others have to say. But I listen with interest on the contribution of Kimar just now, Mr. Short, on the unions. And I would ask a couple questions, because I get the impression that the unions are being negatively affected, not only by a drop in employment and so on, but people are a little turned off. And this is from talking to members who have decided not to continue to pay their dues or whatever. And so I listened, as I say, with interest to that discussion, and I asked the question, what is the current state of the trade union movement in Barbados, more specifically the Barbados Workers Union? Because at the end of the day, it traditionally has represented perhaps the largest cross-section of workers, because it represents both private and public sector. It does not, NIS is not probably the main public sector union, but I mean, the National Union of Public Workers is. But I have had concerns expressed, and coming out of this whole discussion as well, people have made it the business to contrast what is happening in terms of union activity now in the last, I would say, 5 to 10 years, and the last 15 to 20, because it is a shadow of itself, and the movement generally, and the Barbados Workers Union in particular, when we think of some of the work that they did in terms of worker education and so on. If they're doing it, they're not publicizing it in the same, it's not as visible, or we're not hearing as much about it. But I really am concerned about, as I say, the state of the union. I asked the question, what is the state of the trade union movement in Barbados, and whether or not there's a sense that workers are happy. The feedback I'm getting, which is not scientific, this is more anecdotal and individual, is that they're not sensing the level of championing of their cause as we saw in the past. And this has implications for what is happening now, for how employers, whether public or private, will treat workers, and how workers will look to unions, as their voice. So my concern is that this, again, I say thank you to all who would have seen this as an opportunity to educate and inform Barbadians of issues important to them. I say Barbadians have taken that information for the most part to heart and are paying some attention to their business. The question is, will this be sustained?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I want to get into, and I want to once again to applaud you for coming on the show. I know that there are other times asked you to come on for other things, and you didn't, because you didn't feel like those were things you wanted to speak about at that time. But this one, I could tell the passion that Nanny of the Maroons came out, and you had your notes and thing, and let me tell you, she take a lot of notes. And she was ready to teach us, to educate us, along with Lynette and Caswell Franklin. And I think Winston was on that first show as well. And I'm going to give honor where honor is due and say thank you, ma'am. But we want to move on a little bit. I don't know if Winston wants to say anything briefly about the unions. And then the next question I want to ask both Lynette and Heather, where do we go from here? The people are asking for another march, because they're saying that they want the bills pulled back, according to Lynette. Pull back that bill. So but before we move to that question, do you concur with Kimar Stewart, Winston, and why? If so, why? You're muted.
Good night, panel. Good night, everyone. Thank you for
having me on the show again, Marcia. You are an unsung hero. All right. Okay. Yes, I do concur with Kimar, but what I will say is it is my profound belief that no minister should be a member, well, a leader of any trade union. That is what I believe. I do not believe that they will have the interests of the laborers at heart. They will not have the interests of the workers at heart. It will be a conflict of interest in its entirety because we know their priority will be that they are in government and that they have to listen to what their so-called leader has to say, and they have their best interests at heart. Their interests are personal interests, and they cannot see eye to eye with the workers. That is my profound belief. All right, and as far as I'm concerned, I agree with Kimar fully, 100%. Toni Moore is a sellout. Toni Moore is a complete traitor to the workers of Barbados. All right, and there are a couple others who are within that parliament who should have spoken out relative to this bill. I believe that Kurt Humphrey also should have spoken out because he's in charge of his ministry deals with elderly affairs and people empowerment, and he should have said something about it. Um, there are a couple others who it affects their portfolios who should have also spoken out about it. The thing about it is that they do not have the interests of the people at heart. Okay? And you cannot find proper representation. It's all about ostentation and self-interest. That's all it is about. Okay.
Okay.
These
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay.
No. Go ahead, Winston. I'm sorry.
No. These unions, and these unions are a waste of time. The only true union in Barbados is Unity Workers Union. Caswell Franklin. That's the only, and he speaks from the heart. He is sincere. I've had the honor of being in association with Caswell. And we went to school together. Well, he's older than I am. But I mean, continuously, I could go there in the office and we would sit and stuff. And I know for a fact that Caswell is sincere. He gives of his last to people, whether it's the workers, whether it's the needy, whatever. Okay? He is genuine. All right? And you are not going to get any other proper representation from any other union in Barbados. The NUPW is politically aligned. The Barbados Workers Union is politically aligned. C2 Sab is a waste also as far as I'm concerned, but they only jumped on the other day after they saw the public opinion and what was happening. And everybody else who jumped on to this to make comments late. Because in my opinion, they should have come out. We should have seen them yesterday. We should have seen all of these people yesterday. You understand? We didn't see any of them. They have no interest for the people at heart.
Yeah. You know, I tell you, I mean, this, if there's any conflict of interest, this one is so clear. And this situation here at this moment, I don't believe we would be at this juncture if we had strong unions that were representing the workers. There is no way. And then to have the person is a parliamentarian, that is the general secretary of BWU. Can you imagine that? And we didn't hear peep from that person. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I agree with Kimar that the workers, I don't know the process of doing this no confidence vote. I have no idea how that works. But if you're from the BW and you're listening, listen, you guys need to look into this and don't allow yourselves to be doormats. And don't sit down and say, whoa, man, look at that move the Prime Minister made. But the move is against you. The move is against you. She's so smart, man. Man, me is smart. Really? And that's that you're commending that. But it's against you and your family. That's what it is. Right? Educate yourselves. Come on, Bajans. We can do better than that. And find out. Go and research what needs to happen for this no confidence vote. We don't just talk on the show, you know. You have homework. You from the BWU, the Barbados Workers Union. You have homework. Go and find out what needs to happen for this no confidence vote, right? And at least try. At least try. Yeah. Now let's move on to our business at hand. And I'm going to ask. I know. You weren't there, Heather. You weren't there at that march, but do you think that the one march is sufficient? And the people are asking, even as we're on the show, that we need to have another one next week. What are your thoughts about that?
I think it would be futile not to have another march. We must have another march. As I said when I came on this evening, I believe that we are on the verge of a new emancipation. We have to go further. We cannot remain where we are as a people. What we have currently is not working for anybody at all. It's only working for the set in parliament and their family and friends. And it must be the freedoms and liberties and the prosperities must be available for all. Having said that, I also want to find out how many times we're going to come to this juncture and not go further and do something extra about it. We've had so many things in the past that have happened. Some people complain, and after a while they stop, and then some people were the judge and the jury on the internet and so on, and then they stop too. The media hardly takes up the things that are really of issues to the country as they should. So the fifth estate is significantly lacking. They don't lead us at all. So we can't stop here, because I feel that we have a good movement going and we must go the extra mile. The people who were in the 1930s, they did not stop. So we should not stop either. Mm-hmm. And therefore, for the petition, it must continue. And in case anybody does not know, each time someone signs, an email goes to the president, the prime minister, and the deputy prime minister. So we want to flood their inboxes, because numbers really matter.
How many signatures we have now, Heather?
When we started the program, it was 3,802 persons. Mm-hmm. And it still has a long way to go. And the thing that I think is keeping us back is that Change.org is a worldwide organization. And when you pay for a promotion, it doesn't center on Barbados or the Caribbean. It is worldwide. So it's as though they throw a dice, and wherever the dice lands, people see your promotion. So perhaps in the future, we can aim to have a mechanism for petitions and fundraising and campaigning or whatever, specifically for the Caribbean, because this is a learning experience and we can change that. We have the propensity to change that, since that we can see its limitations for us in the Caribbean. Also, besides having another march, we can go outside of Parliament to let them know that we're definitely not pleased. Individuals can call their representatives, call the union reps, and demand representation. And what I can do, in addition to one of the updates for the petition, I can put a dummy letter up so that people can make a copy and send to their representatives. And also, we must engage the churches and other civil entities that there are on the island, for them to help to join the effort as well, because we can't do it by ourselves. This must be done by the people. Every group in society needs to come together and work on this one. And someone said that in the diaspora, when we first started, that we should protest outside the consulates, and I have no reason why that cannot work. I am quite willing to go and demonstrate outside the Barbados consulate in New York. I know where it is located. I can go Even if I have to go alone, I can't go and do that.
Correct. You don't. Nothing is wrong going alone. Nothing is wrong with going alone.
And there is where they had the 50th anniversary celebration where they had the flag raising in Lower Manhattan. That is an extremely popular spot. That would be the perfect place to have it, apart from the council list location.
Yes,
and that's where I can do that.
Yes, and the thing is, the consulate is a good place to start at. It's a good place. I don't know the legality of it, but it's America.
It's America.
It's America. Yeah. So
it's
you know, but I think try something, do it. You know, do something, because we have a lot of people that are from they are concerned. They're vexed too.
Right.
They're vexed too.
If the people could have lined up and wrapped around 2 blocks to go and get Shafet, when the Shafet van came to Manhattan, they can do just the same to help the people in Barbados. Just the same.
You hear did you hear what Nani said? Nani said if you could line up for Shafet, you could
wrap
very
around
much
2 blocks.
Wrap around 2 blocks. This is the future of this nation. Okay? The future of this nation. So let me see some pictures coming out of New York, coming out of Florida, coming out of Washington, where we have the Bajans. We have a lot of Bajans. I know in New York, Atlanta, Brooklyn in particular. Right, lots of Bajans in Brooklyn. Come on, let's yes. Now someone here is saying, Lynette, let me hear from you. What are your thoughts about where do we go from here?
Well, I believe in listening to the people. So if the people believe that it would be useful, it would be effective, and they're willing to make that commitment to continue to do this, I'm there with them.
Yes, and you said a word there. You know, you said about listening to the people, and I've ever since I've started this journey, it's something that I've respected. If I didn't listen to people, we would not be here, because this was not my idea in coming on, because I didn't know anything about it. The thing is that, you know, this is what we want to say to our politicians, those who are, you know, we've elected. Listen to the people. Listen to the people, and the people are telling you what are they saying? Pull back that bill. That's what they're saying. And if they would listen to the people, we don't need to go out there. But it seemed like some of them stiff-necked, as they would say in the church. Right? So I believe, you know, and I'll be out there. I agree with you, Lynette. You know, I'm just moving my schedule around and trying to be out there on with them on Saturday. You know, Winston, come up, Kojo. Come up, Kojo. Listen, Kojo. The people said that they want to go back next week. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, well, I'm all for it. I believe that it will build momentum. It was good Saturday. I expect that it will be better each and every time, because people will see the amount of people, the displeasure that people are voicing. We had some people making some comments even at the end there, that I've seen one that's gone really viral throughout social media here. All right. And I was rather surprised. I saw a video where we were passing by City Center Mall, just passing Cheapside, Cheapside going, and I saw the line. And when I look back, I mean, it was really, really exciting to see how the people came out and how they were, you know, and I felt really proud of that. You know, at first I felt that, well, I wasn't seeing the amount of people I thought would have come, but then it started to gather momentum as we went on, had a kind of snowball effect, right? And it was really nice. Lynette spoke wonderfully. Okay, she got the crowd really riled up, and everybody was chanting, "Pull back that bill, pull back that bill." And I mean, that's like the slogan for all of us right now. Pull back that bill, you know. and it was wonderful. I mean, the camaraderie, the energy that was there, and if we can continue this way, and do it again this Saturday, and continue doing it, because what people need to realize is that even if they had passed, even if they're possible, it can be repealed. There are standing orders relevant to Parliament, whereby we can take the petition to the clerk, and then that too can be addressed. Where as long as you have a certain amount, it must be taken note of, and then if it goes above a certain amount, it must be debated. You understand? We can take the petition to the president, okay, and that too can stop the signature. All right, as long as because it falls constitutionally where it's a matter of public interest. All right, and
Yes.
these are the things we can look at. All right,
Yes, yes.
and okay.
Yeah, I wanna just thank you for that, Winston, and educating us that we, because some people feel like, oh, it's gone. They say, see,
No.
they have 30-0. We can't do anything about it, right? We can do something about it, right? And we're gonna continue. I agree that that we should continue. Thank you, Mr. Roach. I'm not you know what, I know I'm a Bajan, but I don't know I don't know the dialect that good, all right? So I made the correction, and it's pull back bill da. Yes. Listen, you should have seen me, Miss McLean, when they started to play the song. If you're proud to be a Bajan, man, I was skipping and jumping up and down there with my Bajan flag in the rain, because the rain came down just as we were as soon as we got close to Independence Square. The rain started to come down, and the people were just dancing in the rain, and we saw that as a blessing from God, and a blessing from those who went before us, saying, yes, keep going. And then somebody sent me a picture of a bird lighting on Errol Barra's head. And somebody sent me that, and people were just seeing different little signs, because people felt a little hopeless. Go ahead, Miss McLean.
I was going to tell you that showers of blessing are synonymous with major events in Barbados. On the night of independence, we had significant rain. In fact, and if you check history, there are a lot of events where there is, even if it's not a heavy shower, some rain. But I wanted quickly, Marcy, if you might allow me to say something about going forward, because and it relates to the whole demand that the bill be pulled back. And the argument, I think one of the things you need to do also is to equip Barbadians with information justifying why that is the case. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, one of the big concerns I have, well, first of all, even though the legislation is passed, there's a implementation is not automatic and all of that. And so as was correctly pointed out, there are technical things within the law that can be done. But I also think that it is important for Barbadians to understand that even starting from a position that pension reform is necessary, that reform should be informed by some very basic things. Because if you change, let's say you change the age of retirement, or you change the contribution levels, and inefficiencies, poor management, poor operational practices, and so on continue, you just simply create a situation where the problems, many of the contributing factors, continue. So, for example, you're talking about contributions, let's say, when you hear the numbers that are presented in terms of income taken in from payment of contributions versus benefits paid out. Part of the problem is that there's no proper enforcement of receipt of contributions. Employers pay salaries and so on, and there's a portion to be paid by them and the employees. So in other words, you have to enforce the transfer of those funds, that, put rules in place to make sure that these things are done. You have, it's a compulsory scheme, yet there are a lot of people who are not part of that. Okay. I also want to introduce something which, as I sat and I thought about this for the last few days, we're talking about population shifts. But like you, Marcia, I have a son. My son, a university graduate, he studied film, um, worked in other kinds of areas and so on. But when you look, and his, some people may argue, and I'm using him because that's my son, so I know what's happening. I prefer to speak about myself. When I look at him, but first of all, from the time he chose it, I said to him, understand the challenges you would have. But his is a special case. We talk about, pushing the cultural industries and all of that. But even for students coming, I taught in management for 17 and a half years at Cave Hill. And I can tell you that there are students who graduated over the last 3 years and so on, COVID being part of it. There are no serious opportunities out there for our young people. And so add to the confusion of, or not, I want to use the word confusion, add to the situation of an aging population, a situation where young people are not able to find work. I graduated from KFL in 1978, and I was able to find a job about 2 months, 3 months after I graduated. However, a significant percent of these students who are graduating now will not find jobs. So the point I'm making is that when we start to talk about changing these things, what energy is being put to creating opportunities or facilitating our young people to create their own opportunities and become self-employed? So my thinking is that as we talk about the problems, so I move outside of the operations of the National Insurance Scheme, where, as I said, collections are not done, reporting is not done on a proper basis, and so financial statements are late. You've had restrictions in terms of what you can invest in and all of those things. But my point is, start by looking at the institution, its practices, and ask yourself, where are we now? Why are we here? What must we do to change those things? And at the end of the day, improve operations so that there's no leakage. I mean, you hear of people not paying in contributions. Let's take something like severance. Okay, you have a situation where I was trying to read what as I was speaking, but I think I will look at that and make the point, because I'll distract myself. You have a situation where people are severed. Companies do what I call take the easy way out. A lot of them are in a position to pay the severance, but they know that the severed employee can go to national insurance and they will get paid, and then the onus is on government to recover. The level of recovery, we can get the statistics, and it is not acceptable. We have a number of situations where employees are disadvantaged like that. So the point I'm making is, give people the explanations as to why things are not working as well. What are the things that government can quickly do to ensure that those weaknesses are remedied, and so on, before you go to change? Because what you're going to do, you're going to change the thing, make it more difficult for employees, whether it is in terms of retirement age or contributions or level of benefits, because you can reduce benefits, you can, you increase the pension age or whatever. But before you do all of that, tell me and tell the public all has been done to improve the situation. You can go through and look and see. I can list the people who headed that institution. Many of them are still there. They can tell you the problems they saw. They were there when they were there, how much they sorted them out or whatever. But I'm saying that the history is there, the knowledge of what is wrong is there, and by extension, I would say the knowledge of what has to be done to correct those things is also there. And so before you start making changes to introduce what I would call harsher conditions, deal with what you have. And then once you are comfortable to say to the public, we have improved as much as we can, we know we'll turn to do something else. And if they can, and that's the kind of thing people need. When they say, pull back the bill. They need to say why and how things can be improved in a way that the bill or elements of that bill is not necessary. Because pension reform isn't only changing the terms and conditions, it is about also reforming operations.
Correct, correct. And I think that is something, Lynette, we probably can also have put in a like a little document form, a one pager, of why we're saying to pull back that bill, exactly what it is that we're saying now. We
I will
know
offer to help you, Marcia, to put that information
to put
together.
it together. Okay, thank you. Guys, you know that once we are going to be is it my mic that's making a noise? Do you hear a noise on my mic? No. Okay. Lynette, as we are talking about staging the march again, it means that we have to seek to get permission from the police. So while we want to do it, we now will have to go to the police on Monday, which is tomorrow, to find out if that is going to be possible, because we do want to do everything within the law. So we are going to we will set about trying to find out about that. To just do what we did on Saturday. Let's talk some business now, guys. Just what we did on Saturday, Winston, where we did the speeches on the road, and then we ended right there just before we go into Independence Square, was just a little over $2,000 to do that. We're talking money now, right, folks? If When we got to Independence Square, we saw quite a number of persons who are, whether they are disabled in one way or the other, and they were waiting on us, and they wanted to be involved. Somebody messaged me today and said, "Ma'am, I have arthritis." I think it's your mic, Winston. So I'm going to just mute it until you're ready to speak. And she says she wrote me, says I have arthritis, and what is going to happen for me, but I want to be out there, so I'm saying if we do the Independence Square side of it, guys, that's we're adding on another $1,000. What's $1,000 for? We're paying for the use of Independence Square. We're paying cost cap, because we might play a song or two in there in Independence Square. We have to determine if we're going to play music. If we're going to play music in Independence Square, we have to pay almost $300 to cost cap. We might decide we don't want to play the music, we're just talking, right? So, but if we play one song, it's the same amount of money, right? We have to pay cost cap. We also have to pay insurance, right? Which is another near 300, near 200 and something. So I think in total it would come up to about a little over $1,000. So extra. So we're looking at let's say $3,000. Okay, that is the reality of the situation. Do we have? Thank you. His Harris is saying that they signed the petition. The petition is in the chat. And thank you, Kim, for suggesting that we put it in. Sometimes we forget. So it's right there in the chat again. You can sign. Right? So do we have people who are going to say to us, listen, Mrs. Weeks, I want to donate. It is we have to come to you about the money for money, because we pulled our pockets. You understand what I'm telling you? And we will do it again this time around, but it's a large amount of money, and it's tough in Barbados. It's not easy. All of us. All right? Regardless of our professions, it's not easy. But this is something we believe in, and we're all going to give to it. Okay? But we're going to need that help. Can you say to us, listen, Mrs. Weeks, I'm going to give you a call at 236-7000, and I'm going to give towards that. Thank you to those who gave via Western Union, and that gave through the MoneyGram. And those funds actually, because of when they came in and we were rushing up and down, we are collecting those funds tomorrow. But those funds are accounted for. Someone gave me $100. One of the ladies who couldn't manage the march, but she was waiting on us. She wants us to get into the square, and she donated $100, and another person $20. So we have $120 to move us forward, Lynette, into the next march. Okay, so we're looking at, is that 2,880 left back? Somebody calculate quickly for me, right? So can we say, I know Heather said she has something that she's going to send to us. Heather is in New York. She's going to send a donation to us, so that we can cover that. And because people want to sit down comfortably in the park. Another suggestion that someone gave is that if we had a bus that is inside the protest, where people who are not well with arthritis, or because it affects elderly people, and that's why they want to be out there to voice their concerns as well, that we would be able to put them in a bus and they could participate in it that way. Or we can say we are going to use Independence Square. Meet us at Independence Square if you cannot manage the march. Obviously, we need them in the march because the numbers matter. But if you can't walk and think you are part of this, you're still part of this. Okay. So, is there anybody who wants to say?
Yes, I want to say
Yes.
something.
Yes, go ahead, Heather.
Can we have a compassion, I guess, in cost of if we're going to have the march, or just have a rally in Independence Square? Because to see if the rally could work.
Yes, the thing is this, it would, because the police protection is like this, okay? If we have the march if we have just a rally, our expenses are going to be the same and even a little bit more, because now you're going to probably do a stage. Right. So once we go the way of the rally, because we've done a couple of this, as it relates to the children, protecting the children, the rally actually costs a bit more, because now you want to put up a proper stage to do it. Well, that's just how we do it. We don't have to do a stage actually, but you would still have to pay the police. The police alone was it was near $1,200. Okay, so you still have to pay that. Right. So some people are asking for a rally. So what will happen? Inadvertently, you're having both. You're having the march and a rally, because when you get to Independence Square, it will be a rally. But I think you're getting at, what you're getting at is that we would cut out the walk.
Yes.
Okay. Is the walk? Do we want to do that? Do we believe that the rally is better than the march?
But Heather, you were suggesting cutting out the march if it would make it cheaper.
Yes, if it would make it cheaper.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not going to make it cheaper, because it's
Okay.
still the bulk of that money is the police, and also, and then you're also paying for the sound system. So you're still incurring those costs if you go to the
I
square.
understand now.
Are you hearing me, Marcia? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you now, Winston.
Okay, good. I changed
Yes.
the mics, right? So
Yes.
I think it would be cost effective to rather for us to have the walk, right? Because using Independence Square carries costs, and then you have to add in insurance, etc., into that cost into, right? I think what I like though, the fact is that we picked up people on while walking, okay, and the message we were able to, those who could not leave work were still able to hear the message that Lynette and Caswell and others, Mr. Strickland, myself were putting out, okay. It's good that we have a early idea of what the cost will be, so that people can then contribute towards it, because it's for all of us, all right. And if we can continue doing this and doing everything possible to get the results that we require, because we want efficacy. We want these results that we want. Okay, and we will not give in until we will not relent until we get that. All right. So this is something good, right? The walk is a more impactful as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you,
I have
Winston.
another.
Yes, go
I
ahead.
have another question. Is there another location that we can use as opposed to the Independence Square? What about opposite the government headquarters on Bay Street or so? So
Just to say, Lynette can back me up on this, but the police does not really allow you to march within. You can't congregate within 200 yards of any government building, because when I did my one man protest, I wanted to be in front of the Minister of Education, and they told me no. In fact, they went and measured, so you know how close we can be.
Are they
But
still there? Are they still there in that building? But in any case, I'm thinking, because opposite there is Browns Beach, and political meetings are held there. That's a traditional spot for the BLP. So meetings are held there, but I think the cost would be the same.
yes, the cost is going to be the
Okay.
same. And oh, I know where she means now. Sorry,
Yeah.
I know where
Okay.
she means now.
Like the car
But
park.
thank you. But the thing though is that you the Independence Square or Hero Square gives you visibility, and I think that if I understand where you're saying for us to go, I find that it's harder for people. You know, it's a long walk from
Yeah,
into
because
town.
people would
Yeah,
still have to get there. So
yeah.
someone was suggesting to me if you couldn't do like Whole Town or Spitestown or something like that, instead of going the same place, the same vendors will see you when you walk by, because they're there every Saturday.
Hmm.
So one was suggesting um, maybe if you could look at another route. No, I don't know. I can't think of what will happen if you did something like Whole Town or Spitestown.
Yeah.
I Because I don't know those areas very well.
Yes, yeah. The thing is that I mean, we can talk with the police. This route, when it is what I find, this is what I've experienced. When you come with something new, they take a longer time to agree to
Right.
it. You know, so but we could try something and see. But you know that Bridgetown is very visible, and it's a statement as well, right? But it would be interesting to see if we could try another route, you know, probably in Bridgetown. But what we can do is if my number, if you message me, because I'm in contact, we are in a chat group, and I'm going to share your ideas in the chat group, okay, with everybody else. So if the number is there, and we want to hear from you, your ideas, and we'll do the best that we can. However, let's get back to the money, because if we're going to do this, and I think that people are dead serious about it, we need to look at $3,000. Can we raise that within the week? Can anybody on here, anybody pledging any amount? If you're pledging the amount you can give, type it in. Type it in and then WhatsApp me. Type it in the comment, any amount that you can give towards the march. So that's it, because it's our march. And then the second thing is that are we committed to inviting other people to the march? Because we want to at least double the numbers that were out there, right?
Let me say something, Marcia. Um, I have a member from this committee who they sent me a petition today relative to Savvy on the beach. I think they also have a petition out also, right? And they were dealing with issues that people are experiencing displeasure with the government, and they were asking if it's possible if they could come together with us, okay, because of what the different issues that they were having relative to government. So I
Yes.
don't know if that's something you want to look
Right.
at.
So what we can
Like,
do, Winston, we're in a chat together, and so we can look at that because that was sent to me today as well, and so I was still trying to get some more information on it. So I'm glad you brought it up. We can also speak about that on the show tomorrow, right?
okay,
Let's work on that for the show tomorrow. We will include that as well, okay, for the
okay,
Marcy Week show as it relates to the march. We can talk about that because we want to make sure that we are there for everybody. So
yeah,
let's talk about that, okay. Okay,
okay,
so Alvin Simpson says he's going to give 100. Sharon Turton, I'm sure Sharon gave $20 already. Thanks again, Sharon. Guys, what you can do is the number is there. Message me so that we can arrange to for you to drop off the money for us, or you can transfer it, okay.
all
um
right,
No,
all right.
I had thought that what Winston was saying is let us push for the march without the rally.
Okay, that's
Be,
what Winston
be,
is
be,
saying.
because, if you're, from what people are saying, is, keep doing it until people hear what you're saying. The people who you want to hear what you're saying. So if that's going to be $3,000 a week, that's going to end up being expensive for anybody.
yeah, it is, it is. I tend to not to like the idea that we have to consistently pay to express ourselves. I don't know. I mean, freedom of assembly, freedom of expression, freedom of conscience. I tend not to believe in that. I think well, you know me, Marcia. I strategize a bit. I try to find ways to find a loophole, and we got away with it. With that march we had, we got away because we didn't pay them a cent, and we didn't even have a permit. But now they are going to, you know, institute certain measures on you to keep you within certain parameters. And I don't know. I would love to also speak up about that. The fact that you have to, every time you want to speak up about something that affects you, you have to pay in order to do it. I don't think that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah. um Correct, and
Yes,
it would have to be
well,
changed because one of the things I don't want. Yeah, I'm sorry, Winston, continue.
no, I'm saying in the interim we will, but I'm saying that we should also speak up about it. The fact
Yes,
that they are looking to benefit off of our displeasure, I don't like that.
yes.
It goes into
One
the
of the
government coffers. I don't like that.
Yes, one of the things I don't want to do, I don't want to, I think you're right, Winston. Let me just say that. But I don't want to bring people in any danger. If we say come out, we want to do what we can do until they change the law. But I agree, we should speak about it. I think it's a bit costly. But at the moment, it is what it is. So I think what we can do is to go, try for it. If we can't get it at a minimum, we're gonna do the march alone. Now, what do we do with those persons? And this is where I could ask a question: if we have, can we have vehicles part of it? And is that going to be more money if we have vehicles part of it? So,
I don't know if the people who are waiting for you at Independence Square necessarily want to be in a vehicle. Maybe they just want to wait for you at Independence Square.
Yeah.
And maybe, okay, so on the last occasion when I got there, I was not thinking there'd be anybody there waiting. But now that we know this, we could probably deal with it more effectively. And instead of saying, "Oh, there are people here and go there and go there," we could decide that okay, there will be people there. So maybe what you could do is to just go chat with them, tell them what the march was like, reiterate the reason we are doing it, what developments you might have had between the last March and today, but plan it.
And see if we can, yeah. So I think what we'll do, I agree that we can try to, we know what is happening, and what we just is to say it very very clearly, whether it is we're going to be at Independence Square or we're not going to be there, to be very clear. That too, I think communication needed to be clear. People expected it, and so we needed to be very clear. Somebody's talking about a motorcade, instead, and if there would be a fee for the motorcade and so on. I could ask all of those questions, right? I can ask all of those questions. Sonia Hayward was saying there were only about 10 of them waiting there. And yes, so let's look at all of that. But in the meantime, guys, regardless, regardless, yes, Colin, I understand what you're saying. You're saying you can't be invoking Nani and Kodja and talking about laws. The reality of it, the, the reality of our situation is that I am saying that I, Marcia Weeks, am not going to be involving people outside, calling people to something that they might be locked up and left their children. That is something for people to decide on their own if that's what they want to do. And I've been saying it to you, Colin, you can have your own march without permits, okay? And I haven't seen it yet. But go ahead and have your own march with your own permit. Announce you don't have any permit so that the people can make a decision if they want to march with you without the permit or not. You see? Because then that's something I believe in civil disobedience. I believe there's going to come a time you might have to do it, but people need to be able to make a decision that that's what they want to do. Okay. So, and the Constitution does give you the right to demonstrate. However, you would have heard, as a good student, you would have heard Miss Lynette Eastman talk to us about the Public Order Act and how it came into being. If you were listening carefully, as a good student that I know you are, then you would have known how it came into being. And the fact is that that is what's on the book. You can make a decision. You don't want to follow that, but let the people know ahead of time that that is what it is. I don't think it's fair to draw people into all of that. Okay, that's just me. That's just me. All right. Okay. Sandra is saying, as usual, we always end up with the speakers at Independence Square. I think it should remain that way. Sandra, for it to remain that way, it is going to be about an extra $1,000. And with that said, then we will have to now talk about money. Can anybody? I only had two persons who said that they can give anything. Okay, Alvin Simpson and Sharon Turton, $120. So we had 120 before, we have 120 now. So that's 240. We still have a long way to go. All right, and we'll continue to talk about it. Um, we will continue to talk about it as we go, as we have the different shows each night. We'll be on again Monday night and Tuesday night, and then we're going to be on Friday night. Okay. Okay. Now, last two suggestions that were made. One is that we use not a motorcade, but we announce the march in the communities. Okay, so that we go with a microphone. The car you're driving, and amplified sound, and my experience with that is that there's also a cost to that. where you have to pay for the sound system unless there is somebody who has that already and can do it. So if you have access to a vehicle, right? If you have access to a vehicle and a sound system and probably can do it for free, that's something that we can easily add to the permit that we're asking for, because we still have to get police permission to do that, right? So let us know if that is if anybody has that kind of facility that will allow us free of charge. No sound system. You already have the sound system. I think it's a brilliant idea, and and we you go through the community and let them know that the march is coming. Um, the other thing I want to say, or somebody's asked, how can I get to donate without having a credit card? Okay, so I'm going to put the number in the chat. And you can actually come to Rock. You can drop off the funds at Rock. I also have to ask Caswell if we can still drop off funds by him. Rock is Praise Academy, which is our school, and we would collect the funds there. But you must call ahead of time to make sure that we're prepared for you. And we can give you directions. And I'm putting the numbers right there in the chat for you. Okay, the number is there. It's also here. This number you can use to WhatsApp to tell us if how much you want to donate. Some people might not want to say it on here, and then you can or you can just to know how you can donate, right? What are the different ways that you can donate? So, and everybody's still engaged. That is wonderful. We still have over 300 people on here. That is still good. That is good. You're interested. Yes. Now the next thing that I want to say to us is that what we do in the natural is in the natural, okay? But I also believe that this is a spiritual battle, Lynette. I believe that we are coming up against, also spiritual forces. And so I am going to, I would like to, those of you who know how to pray and fast. Yes, I'm saying that in this setting. Winston is a Muslim, and you have people on lots of Rastafari were out there, people of different faiths, and every faith that I know, every faith, you can correct me if I'm wrong, they fast, right? They fast and they pray. And so it's not going to be any particular faith. We're not congregating anywhere. It's your individual prayer. And so I would like, this is an initiative that I'm proposing that we couple the next march with prayer and fasting, because let me tell you, they're going to prepare. They're going to prepare for us. They're going to prepare for us. So I'm suggesting Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday is a fast. And throughout the week, we will talk about the different types of fast that you can do. And, it's up to you. And fast is really just sacrificing something that you like, right? Whether it could be a phone fast. You're not going to be on the phone for 3 days. Let's hope you don't have business, right? Or it could be that you're not going to have sugar for 3 days. You're not going to have meat for 3 days. I'm just going to have fruits and vegetables for 3 days, right? And prayer at 6 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and 6 again. 3 times of prayer, 6, 12, and 6. And we're going to do up a little flyer and put it up, because let me tell you, as much as we get up and dress and go down there and ready to do the march physically, there's also a spiritual component to it. Okay, and believe me when I tell you, and it's important that that is done as well. And I'm not trying to push the Christian faith or anything. I respect everybody's faith, and you can fast in the way that you feel comfortable to fast, and in your faith. Yeah. Somebody says there are 300 of us, oh, it's Winston, we can each put $10. There are 300 of us on here right now. Right now, 300 of us on. Don't try to get away. Don't come off. Don't come off. There was just 350 and it's now 307. Don't come off. There are 300 of us on here. If each of us put $10, it can work. It can work. But this has been great, guys. This has been great. And, I love it. What I love about this is its action. We don't just talk. This is not brass tacks, where you call and complain. This is everything you put on here, you suggest, and we can do it. We do it. Yeah, because it is for what? Barbados. Barbados. Yeah, I love my little flag here, I love my flag. Right? It's for Barbados. Yes, Monica Hoyt is saying she can do 20. Monica, you have the number, message me now, so we can figure out how to collect it. Message it, and they're probably gonna say that people outside of here are sponsoring us, right? People that some organization. It's a little $20 and the $10 coming together, right? So Monica is saying 20. We're going to be on again tomorrow evening because we're going to come on with some more reports, right? More reports on what happened with the police, what is going to happen. Listen, we're planning committee, we're doing the thing together. It's our thing. And make sure you invite more people. All right. As we close, Heather, is there any final word that you want to say to those who are watching?
Just as I started, I want to end that we are on the verge of something great, a new emancipation for the people. So let us press on, let us persevere and press on. Don't give up. My mother used to say that I was the most determined person that she had ever met. I hardly give up on things that I start. So I want you to take that to heart as well. Persevere, don't give up. And my alma mater from when it was called the Christchurch Girls School, it says, I persevere. I'll try great things every day. And when I don't succeed, I'll try and try and try again. And that has stuck with me for my life. So this is just a small thing that I'm asking for you to stick with tonight. Persevere with us on this effort, and it will come to fruition.
Wonderful, wonderful. Winston?
Hey, I'm just gonna ask that everybody come out. All right, because we know that this is, as you said, is our lifeline. All right, and it will affect not only us but our future generations. All right. I want to thank Lynette. I want to thank Caswell. I want to thank you, Marcia, for pushing. I want to thank Heather. I want to thank Kimar. I want to thank Mr. Strickland and everybody who has been there fighting. And we do the planning, etc. But without the people coming out, all will be for naught. And I'm going to ask and continue to ask each person to see if they can bring at least 3 people with them. All right, when they come in. All right. And that we continue to do this and we can achieve it. All right. With determination and perseverance, right, Heather? We can achieve anything. Okay?
Yes.
That's
wonderful,
it.
Wonderful,
Have a wonderful night,
wonderful.
everyone.
Good. Yes, Kojo. Yes, Kojo. Don't mind my friend in the comment section. Yes, you Kojo. But we're following the law today. All right. I'm not sure Miss McLean is still there. But because I know she had to run off. But Lynette, what are your final words to your people?
No, I actually liked Heather's statement, and then Winston endorsed it as well. So I want to endorse what they both said. Really, it's about perseverance, commitment, and it is about discipline. And as I said, that's what Barbadians traditionally have been about, even to the extent that people might laugh at us. But that's how we got things done. And, I heard Maxine you know, going a bit broader and talking about some other things. And these are other areas in which we've fallen down as well. And that is why, partly why the NIS is in trouble, because nothing can exist on its own and will not survive on its own if the other things that are connected in the society aren't working. So we have to pray about that, and we have to work towards fixing all of those other things. The NIS might just be the tip of the iceberg, but we have to work towards getting all of those other things fixed.
That's right.
You know, as they come along.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
And that's why the issue that what Winston has mentioned, it's, you know, with that brother, with that person, Mr. Kinch, I think his name is, based
Yes,
on the
Kinch.
research. Kinch, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you know, I think we have to look at all of them. It's just a lot of things, Lynette, as you said, and that's why I say we're under, you know, we're under. I don't know if I should say it's a spell, but there's something that's going on that causes our eyes. You know, we're getting up, but we're gonna need some spiritual strength, and you know, to get up, even more people getting up. Remember, you know, this mighty army coming together. We're going to see more people there on Saturday. Yeah. And more people are going to come out. Somebody's asking here, is the total for the next March Barbados 3,000? Then yes, Kim. Yes, Kamar. It is 3,000. And I know you were concerned, Kamar. You were concerned. You said, I don't want to give them money because I don't know if Bajans are going to come out. You remember? And you see now that they're out, right? And so I know you're asking that for a reason. You're going to give. For everybody who said that they would give, Alvin Simpson, I hope you're still on. Sharon Turton, Monica Hoyt, Trevor Seeley, I'm that believer. That's what comes up. If you are that person, I'm that believer. Um, Make sure you give me a call so that we can arrange for how the money is going to be collected, so that when Friday comes, we're not here tearing out our hair. You know, I don't have much on the head, but we want to make sure that we can pay the bills, right?
Mm.
Good. We don't nobody call it, you know, any bad name and, you know, bad blood or any kind of thing. We make sure we pay our bills, right? So make sure you contact me 1246 236 7000. Very easy number, 236 7000, where we can think. And I think this was very productive. The transfer, oh, that's what Mr. Roach. Mr. Roach messaged me, and I'm going to send out the give you the transfer information. I see that's what you were saying. So Mr. Roach is helping us to pay for the permit, you hear? Mr. Roach, Conjure Roach. Listen, I might just march with you when you're ready to go without the permit. I know that time is coming, my brother, right? But we want to make sure we tell the people what's going on. All right, okay, folks. God bless you, and I will see you again tomorrow. Tomorrow at 7 o'clock, class start again. School time, and teachers will be present. All right. Bye bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye bye.